30. That should be enough points to get you promoted to any season, but Andy Amery has beaten them all, I'm afraid. And we really need to mark this moment, Andy. I mean, I feel we need a speaker of substance, of style, where you could rely on them, nail them on for something that absolutely pitch perfect meets the moment. Chris Walls.
Oh, mate. Best man speech coming on. I sat and I was thinking, what can I say about Andy? So much. It's like steady. But I feel it's a bit like Russia and America staring at each other. Is it across the Bering Strait? We have enough to ensure each other's mutual destruction.
Press the button.
So, I invested in something on eBay, an AI Sackaway. Apparently it's a microphone which is self-redacting. So if I start saying anything that would get me sacked, it apparently cuts out. So I'll just try it. Joe, you a compliment? Okay then, so I've split the speech into a few sections, and I'm going to start with the fixtures section. It's quite a poignant part for us to start with, really, for myself and probably for Andy. Andy will probably refer to a legend that very many of you will know, Stuart Metcalf. Stuart was here when Andy and I both started. He'd been here a while by then. He was very much a bit of a hero figure for both of us. But Andy needs to realise he's surpassed Stuart. So Stuart did, I think it was 25, 26 years. He's a part-timer. Flashing the pan. Yeah. I first met Andy probably on the 3rd of January 1994. But my first real conversation with him was on the 5th of January 1994, when Shaka Demas and Players were rocking it at number 1. We were preparing for a fixture where I was taking the mighty third 11, and Andy was taking the even mightier second 11, and Stuart was sorting out absolutely everything. And we were in a cupboard that no longer exists down there, talking to each other. And I turned to Andy and I said, "I'm clueless here. I don't know what to do." And he goes, "Don't worry, mate. Stuart sorts your team out. The lads know what's happening." I said, "Like, what do you do about tactics?" And he says, "Tactics, normally, if in doubt, shoot. If you can't shoot, hoof it into the mixer. Anything can happen." And I clung on to that for about 15 years of football coaching. And I've got to say, quality advice. Yeah. We did hit it off straight away, and we had every Saturday morning and every Wednesday, probably about 25 weeks a year, because we were still playing Saturday fixtures then. It was really good. We'd turn up, Stuart had sorted everything. We went into a cupboard, had a laugh, got changed, come out, watched the lads play football, had a laugh, came back, Stuart sorted everything out. Yeah, it was good times. Yeah. One Saturday morning, Andy came in, we were short of players. And I turned up and we got no third team running, and so we just got first and second team. And with that short of players, we'd only got 8 in the second team. So it was back in the days when, like, as a member of staff, you were actually allowed to play. So I stuck my boots on and I went out to play. And Andy was managing it. He'd come from a stag do. I have no idea how he got there. Yeah, it's certainly not legally. I can say that with absolute sincerity. We were getting hammered, and it was absolutely freezing. I'm looking around, I'm looking for inspiration from, like, Andy on the touchline, and he's there smiling away, hammered. We came over at half time, thinking, like, Andy will sort it out. It was bitter cold. He was still drunk. The wind had been blowing into his face, and his face was numb, and he dribbled. Dribbled, and streaking across his face, and it was frozen. And he started talking. Probably started talking. It was a bit like a conversation with Joel. Loads of really long sounds came out. But nothing that I could understand. And the 8 of us got together and we were like, yeah, cheers Andy, thanks mate. And we walked out and one of the lads said, like, what did he say? I said, no. let's just bang him about a bit. Let's support the physicality. So that's almost the end of our fixtures bit. The last one I want to mention is a trip that we had to Grimsby. The first team, I don't know whether it was Dave's first team actually, got through to the final of, I think it was British Colleges. And it was in Grimsby, but we were both teaching. And true professionals, we said we'd finish his lesson, we wouldn't go straight on the coach. And we'd just fly up in Andy's XR2. So we rushed, finished his lesson, ran down, got in XR2, set off, got to the road at the bottom. And this is before sat-navs, for people who like don't understand that. Sat-navs, no chance. Mobile phones didn't exist. Right, so we got in the car, flew down, and Andy went, have you got directions? And I went, and you got them? No. I went, right, it's Grimsby. Grimsby's tiny. Like, this college is big. How hard can it be? Not a problem, just whack onto Grimsby, because we were already behind. So we flew down to Grimsby, we were having a chat and a laugh on the way. And we got into Grimsby and I went, right, let's ask for directions. And I kid you not, we asked every mentally handicapped person. So we got to the first person and said, like, do you know where Franklin College is, please? Right? And he went, oh yeah. You go to the bottom road and you turn right. And I like, and he went on for about 20 minutes. So we finished, it's like, we're going, it's like, end at road, turn right, we'll just wing it from there. So off we went. Then we pulled into this garage, and I said, I'll go in and ask for directions. The garage, those of you too young, like, that's what you did, right? You did that. So I jumped out, ran into this garage, turned around to Andy and was like, not because the teller was going to give me directions, but she was a cover model. So after about 20 minutes, Andy came in and went, are we going? Yeah. So we eventually got there. We got to Grimsby, turned up, Stuart stood there, sorted everything out, typical Stuart. Got there like this, stood outside, turned to like one of the lads, what score? It's like, it's 1-0 to them, oh yeah. And then whistle went, oh right, yeah, half time. And he went, no, that's full time, we just lost. We saw literally about 30 seconds. It was terrible. Right then, trips. Oh no, so embarrassing stuff that we've done. Make sure this is on. So the first one, there was an ex deputy principal. I'm not naming because he's probably famous for people who remember him for having a bit of a dalliance with somebody in college while he was married. And we were on the quality committee at the time. And we went up to his office and suddenly this big picture of his wife had appeared on his desk, which we found quite amusing, being childish as we are. Well, Andy is, I'm not. I'm staying, I'm very mature. And we were just commenting on like the appropriate, how the height of his desk was quite like conducive to certain things. When he walked back in and we were mid-action, so it didn't go down very well. That was quite an embarrassing point. Not quite as embarrassing as Andy used to work with exams when Sue Allett ran exams. Andy used to do a job in exams, and just where the extension is now that goes out towards criminology and stuff down that way, there used to be like a little cupboardy thing in there with a toilet in. And there was a member of staff called Jan Dodd, some of you will know Jan Dodd, like possibly the most intelligent person on the planet, but not really in this universe. And Andy walked in with a kettle to see Jan Dodds squatting on the toilet and the pig with a knickers around her ankle. And Andy's like, "Oh!" And John went, "Sorry, Andy, fill the kettle up." Another embarrassing. We were in the office in what was down in like Mark's old room, the one that goes onto the front. And there's a little office off that. Well, we didn't know, but there was actually somebody in there. We were having a very professional conversation, very professional, and then this painter and decorator George walked out, and we were like, "Oh shit, we're gonna get sacked." That was quite bad. And then, there was Suella when we walked in, and she altered his cricket whites for us that time, so we're up on tables like little 5-year-old boys getting this. Some students walking past, that was quite embarrassing. Andy came on my stag do, and lots and lots of stuff happened on that, so and a great time was had by all, and the chicken fully recovered. We went on a conference, and on the way down, I opened a can of Stella, and we had a can of Stella on the conference.
It was about 7 a.m. as well.
Yeah, it was quite early. And then on the way back, we discovered a game, which was the I Would Rather game. And you had to start a statement by saying, "I would rather," and then it followed by another statement. Oh, it was hilarious. People were mentioned. It was quite good, but not something that I want to go into much detail on, because I actually want to make it to my retirement. Last section now, onto the principal section. So we started off under Nigel Briggs. He employed us, so the man's an absolute genius. It's working. Yeah. Then we moved to Giles. Giles, for those of you who know, had a bit of a reputation as a bully. We kinda fell foul of one of the training things that we were doing where we thought we were being quite intelligent, apparently not. So we got dragged in to Giles' office to get a bit of a kick in separately. It was so bad, I was sat down and Giles got up and he started storming round his desk at me. And I was like, I think, what would I have been about 25, 26, something like that? Yeah, mid-20s. And I thought, he's going to smack me. And then I thought, well, he's not hitting me sat down. So like, he comes storming around his desk and I'm thinking, we're off, up we get. So I get up, ready. So I was stood like, and he went, whoa, hold on. And funnily, I never got bullied by Giles. The Richard years. How good were they? Snow days called by his wife Mary. As soon as the slightest bit of snow fell on the far side of Sheffield,
High ground.
a full call came through. You'll never get home. Close college. Shut it once. Nick mowed his lawn. I kid you not. He mowed his lawn. That's how much snow there was. Yeah? Fair play to her. Loved her. I got a really nice tan that day. Richard years were really a bit mixed. It was the march to supremacy. I remember us sat discussing whether or not we were going to ask the inspectorate to come in because we were absolutely certain we were going to be a grade 1. So we were saying like, shall we risk it? Shall we ask them to come in? We were grade 1, and then we fell into a bit of financial trouble. We started thinking about looking around, and then we got that government thing came and said like, you must join a trust because they were forcing people into trust and everything. So we looked around, found a trust, thought, yeah, this looks great, we'll join this trust. And then Richard, Tony and Morris spent so much time looking at joining the trust that really took their eye off the ball, and we had a bit of a fall from grace, which ended up with Andy as our quality nominee being in with the inspectorate until quite late at night, probably about 7 at night, and the last inspection that didn't go very well, Richard went home to have a Chinese instead of stopping. So there was me, Elaine Shaw and Tony Dowling waiting for him to come out when we got the news. So that was it's a bit of a poignant moment, I think, in our career, that it was like, right, it was quite sad. Then we moved on to the Stefan era. Oh my God. You will never know how much buffering Andy and I did to protect you from that madman. Right? We had 3 days of absolute hell, because he only worked 3 days. And then 2 days of sanity, that the bastard was thinking stuff up for the other 3 days when he came in. When he just announced complete huge changes to systems, and you were like, yeah, what, how are we going to do that one again? Oh, I hated them. Followed by Stefan in lipstick. And that was just 5 days of absolute madness from start to finish. Again, the only way we could distract her was to push her towards sorting out that boudoir office and doing the painting and decorating. It's the only way we could protect you. After that, 2018, we had the most diverse trio in charge of you. 3 middle-aged fat men, me, Andy and Dave. I suppose the diversity was, I'm a thick-old PE teacher with dyslexia, Andy had hair. Dave was definitely middle class. That was the diversity as far as it went. But generally speaking, we did all right considering there were 3 of us. Then we hit the COVID era. Oh, how weird was that? Moving on though. And then the Joel era, and in that. Oh, I think I'd better leave it there. I just want to say thank you. So, just the best mate. Don't be without that. And we've got you a present that I'd like to wheel out before you.
I'm hoping set the launch.
Oh my goodness.
Oh dear. It's a gaming chair. It's a gaming chair. Not from it. Oh no. Somebody get Fraser.
There's a story behind this. And I am going to tell you. I'll let you tell it. You can't see it. I'll come on to it. Unlike Saturday night, I think I was 5 or 6 pints of Moretti in when I decided to say something, and obviously I've not had 5 or 6 this morning. Hello, Jill. I think you with Jill. Yeah. You suggested I had a quick few.
Just the one though.
Yeah. I've got a few things to say. I know Joel said we need to be out of here by 2, so what have we got? About an hour and 5 minutes. People have been asking me, how does it feel? And for the people who are leaving, you probably feel like me, that it doesn't really feel real at the moment, and I'm sure it will when we get to August. Been walking around the corridors, looking in classrooms, a little bit like you're leaving that family home for the last time, having a good look round. I'm leaving with lots of good memories. I've worked with some wonderful people over the years, some great teams, and as I say, wonderful people. It was never my intention either, Joe, to be a teacher. I was in year 11, I think. In our day, we used to call it the 5th year. And my form teacher said to me, Andrew, I think the best thing you can do is get a job. So I went home that night and I filled out an application form to the 6th form. And I wasn't doing A-level economics as one of my subjects. Physicists, I apologise. I started on A-level physics. And I quickly realised when the teacher started a lesson, they put a weight on a spring. I don't know if you still do this. And they got the weight and they dropped it. And they said, today we're going to learn about how long it takes for this weight to stop moving. And I just thought, no, that isn't me. And a chance walk home with a girl one night, I said to her, look, you know, I've got to change subject. What are you doing? She said, oh, I'm doing economics. What's that? I said. And she told me about it, and I went to talk to the teacher, and I started doing A-level economics, and that kind of changed my direction. I was very lucky. I had a teacher that inspired me when I was at school, and he inspired me to want to be an economics teacher. Chris has mentioned Stuart Metcalf. That fortune carried on, and Stuart Metcalf was a great mentor and a role model to me when I started at TRC. But I've lots of people to thank along that journey that I've had. I think the people I work with now, I want to say, you know, a few thank yous. Thank you to Fiona. Thank you to Louisa, Rachel and her team, Susan and the team up in class, and of course the engine room that is student services. Thank you to everybody in there. Thank you to Jeff and the canteen staff for feeding me and watering me. And thank you to the site staff, of course, which make up the great team that we have. It is difficult to pick out individuals, but I am going to pick out a couple of people. It has been a privilege to work with Mark Harding.
Yeah, they all said that.
I honestly think he's one of the best teachers I've worked with, and I really do mean that. I put down here, he has relationships with his students. That sounds a bit wrong. Don't worry, Louisa, don't worry. I then put, he gets it. That sounds wrong as well. What I mean is, Mark, he has that working relationship with his students. He sets a high bar right at the beginning. He sets clear expectations. But at the same time, his students know that that guy at the front is doing the best that he can to make them the best economists that they can be. And I want to thank him for his support as we've worked together in economics. He's also a fine linguist. And I might have shared this a few years ago. I discovered this. We went on a trip to Paris. The coach dropped us off. It was on the outskirts of Paris. It was quite strange. Not that it was the outskirts, but it was a chocolate factory. And we normally did breweries and distilleries. Being the most senior member of the team, I thought it was my responsibility to get off the coach and get us into the chocolate factory. So I was about to press the intercom, and Mark says, Andy, I've got this. So he came across and he pressed the buzzer, and the voice at the other end went, bonjour. Mark replied, bonjour, monsieur. And I thought, we're off. What then happened will stay with me for the rest of my life, because Mark carried on, bonjour, monsieur. My name is Mark. I'm from Tunis, Northern Palau. Turn round, look at one of my colleagues. Like, was I the only one that had seen that? Rachel, she had been sat on the front seat, Rachel Coates, business teacher. couldn't see Rachel. It turns out she was curled in. You know, so.
I had lessons.
So, thank you for that, Mark, and thank you for everything you've done for me. I'm sure that you and I will keep in contact, especially on afternoons when Leeds have lost and Everton have won.
Not every week.
On Saturday night, I thanked SLT for the support that they've given me in my time at this college. I think one day they ought to do a fly-on-the-wall documentary of SLT meetings. It is very much like a scene from The Office with our very own David Brent. He's up there with Paul Weller. There's laughter, there's tears, and then Joel stopped singing his favourite 1980s song. And we return to the agenda. But amidst all that chaos, there is a team there that is working tirelessly for the staff and students at TRC. So thank you, TRC, for everything that you are. Joel, you're my 6th principal. You're the only principal that has had a 1980s music quiz on the morning, football trivia. And as somebody who rarely has a dog in the fight when it comes to football playoff finals, you've given me that emotional support when my team have lost once again in a playoff final. And then there's Chris. I spent more time with Chris than I have with my wife. In fact, you've nicked my next line. There's only Chris that could say this. He tells me he spent more time with my wife than I have. As he's told you, we started here together 30 years ago. He had hair. I remember head of PE, Barry Toms, he said to me, "You're going to have a mate." And I think our 3 periods at the beginning must have been at the same time. Well, nobody came looking for us anyway. We'd sit in the staff room. We'd do a little bit of prep for our lessons, and then Chris, he'd get the bin, the waste paper bin, and plant it at various places around the staff room. And we'd have to obviously try and get it in that paper bin. Chris always ended up winning that. And that was our first insight into what we call sharpening the sword. Now, we later discovered sharpening the sword is actually a management tool. It was a reputable trainer that told us that your brain sometimes needs a bit of downtime. We didn't need telling twice, did we?
Genius, that one.
Yeah. So, with that training behind us, we carried on sharpening the sword. And I remember one day Chris came into my office. Andy, you've got to come to my office. You've got to see this. He'd only gone and found an online game of Crazy Golf. So we continued sharpening the sword, and then computer services blocked it. You can't believe the smile on our faces when eSports arrived. Bucket seats, steering wheels, pedals. Yes, that we kept sharpening the sword. You might not believe this, but we have been in trouble over the years. Lots of stories which I would love to tell you. Although I'm almost ex-TRC, Chris has got to carry on working here. But there's one that I can share with you. It must have been the summer. It was a training activity for Inset. I'll protect the name of the trainer. Let's call him Alan. And it was a training exercise on communication. So not a lot changes, but it was on communication. He split us into pairs. He sent half of the group over on the far side, and he came to us with a piece of paper. And the aim of it was to communicate this message to the people on the other side of the field without shouting. So as he went over, the trainer, Alan, to the other side of the field, I could see people up and down sort of limbering up, doing their what looked like that sort of like YMCA. And we thought, they're going to try and communicate this message. Well, we were young kids on the block, we were sharp, we were smart. We were going to win this. We knew that the activity was all about keep it simple, keep communication simple, get the message across. And as soon as we were given the green light to start, we'd hatched a plan. Chris had got trainers on. He was the one who was going to run like Linford Christie with this message across to the other side of the field. And then we would take all the glory. We'd done it the easy way. We were really surprised to see the trainer, red-faced, steam coming out of his ears, himself running across the field. Stop! What are you doing? And then 5 minutes later, we were in the principal's office separately getting a right royal bollocking. We'd messed up the training for the day. Not a lot has changed over the last 30 years, but we wouldn't have had it any other way. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody. Look after him. Thank you.